welcome to another Bunny Man Reads, the creepypasta stories that I narrate. And mostly, me and Crazy Susie like to read our own writings, which is this night's writing is done by me, the Bunny Man. I just want you to remember, not that long ago, when our ancestors were alive, they had to fight the cold weather that we now experience without the modern amenities like heat like we have today. So, in remembrance of our ancestors, let's begin. A old Yule story. Long ago, before the old gods were forgotten, and a man from Nazareth filled the hearts and souls of the men and women of the north. In the cold, long nights, when food was scarce and clans huddled around the warm fires that chased away the long nights with the cold fingers of death. Unfortunately, the hardiest of warriors, the stoutest of farmers, and the cleverest of artists and craftsmen cannot escape the shivering hug of death. Many young and old died this winter. Sorrows filled the clan's heart. Tears froze on reddened cheeks of the mightiest of champions as they gathered their furs closer in hopes to keep the cold at bay. On the long night, they gathered the livestock, and the villagers went inside the longhouses. They cooked what they had and slaughtered the already dwindling herd if needed. As the food popped and squealed, the horn and the mugs were filled with warm drink that drove the chill from the bones of the drinker. As like most nights on this long, cold night, the snow fell on the black landscape, but unlike most nights, this night's wind whistled fiercely and blew in through the cracks of the longhouse, chilling even the fire. I don't want to die frozen like Berg, stiff and blue, no sword in hand, no wound to kill, just the ice filling his body and strangling. I hope he finds warmth and good drink in hell, but I want to join Odin and battle and feast, said a big man named Gunnolf. Berg was a good man, smarter than you, not as strong in arm, but knew the sagas and plants. It's a shame to see him staring into the sky taken by the ice. I'll miss the stories and songs, said a stout woman stirring a pot named Astrid. Bugger it all. Drink the mead, eat, sleep, enjoy a good woman, stay warm. If I die, I want to know I died happy, that I will see my ancestors again. I will see my boy, my father, my mother. Don't worry about dying. Live now. I've been alive long enough to know that. But this winter might be the end of us all. I've never seen it this bad. So many frozen. We lost so much. It's not even the end of Yule. Our stocks are half gone. The cattle are almost skin and bones. The sheep and goats are sickly and few in number. All we have is meat and grain, but the grain is stocky and coarse, said an old man at the end of the fire. He drank a large horn that spilt down his beard. He wrapped himself in a large bear cloak. He said he killed with his bare hands. He laughed when it was quiet, and yelled it when everyone was laughing, and whispered when battles were fought. Some say he was mad, others say he was touched by the gods. His name was Bjorn. Stop telling us, Bjorn, what we have left. I know what is left, and how hungry we are. We drink to numb, but how long? Astrid asked. If you don't shut your mouth, old man, I'll shut up for you, and send you to the ancestors before you finish your horn, said Gunnolf, as he grasped the hilt of his sword and rushed over to Bjorn in haste. You first, boy, as Bjorn gestured with his hand down where Gunnolf could see a small blade pointed at his crotch. Bjorn erupted in laughter. Gunnolf's face turned red with anger. I need a piss. Astrid, you want to hold it for me? Yelled at Bjorn. You can hold it yourself, you big smelly oaf, Astrid said. Back in my youth, women used to beg to hold it for me. Back in the day, those women were young and dumb as stone, and wanted any man to keep them warm. Bah! This is why I like you, Astrid. Always quick-witted and sharp with tongue. Bjorn walked away from the fire and opened the door. The freezing air rushed in with wisps of snowflakes. Gunnolf stared at the flames, looking at the darkness. The pops and crackles, the spats of moisture filled the silent hall. How are we on wood, Gunnolf? Astrid asked. A few more days, we might have to go into the village and tear down a home or two for more. I can't believe that a handful of us are all left of the village. I don't want to think how many died. It's just 30 of us left, all gone, and going to be fewer by next week's end. Some have come down with a shivering fever, Astrid said, remorsefully. Gunnolf grimaced at the fire. If this was a battle, very few would have died. Said Astrid. This is a battle, just one that won't be slain with sword and blocked with shield. It's one of resources and wits. How long has Bjorn been out there? A while. Do you think he is dead? Astrid asked, concerned. I don't know. Serves the fool right. He should have used the corner latrine like everyone else. The corner is starting to overflow and smell of death and disease. I have only been using it when I need to. I also go out and do my deed, Astrid said, irritated at the condition things have gotten. Gunnolf scoffed. It's perfectly usable and safe than going out. Rather go out and freeze than to come down with the shivering fever, Astrid said hotly. All right, I'll go out, woman. I'll check on the fool, Bjorn, and make sure he is safe like the child he is, Gunnolf said hostily. Gunnolf got up, wrapped himself in his cloak, and walked slowly to the door. If I die because of this cold, woman, it would be your fault. Aye, so don't let the door hit you, you big baby, Astrid said jokingly. Gunnolf continued to the door, his feet dragging and regretting even bringing Bjorn up. He slowly opened the door. The wind pushed against the door, the cold rushed in, and the people screamed to close the door. Gunnolf rushed out the door into the bleak winter landscape. Gunnolf wrapped the fur cloak even tighter around him. The hair from below his woolen cap whipped behind his head. He could feel the sting of the cold on his cheeks. His eyes felt dry, and they hurt from the stings of ice. The moisture in his breath froze in his beard. He heard the crunch of his footsteps. He looked ahead and saw the dark cloak of Bjorn standing in the middle of the snowbank, his head tilted to the sky, his body motionless. The ice froze him in place, Gunnolf muttered. He walked up to Bjorn and looked at him. Bjorn muttered to Gunnolf. You hear that, Gunnolf? The horns of Shippern, the horns of riders? Are you going mad, old man? Here's the wind and snow crunch. All I can see is the dancing sky. You're the fool, Gunnar, an idiot. All you think about is war, glory, women, and booze. You hear the sagas of the gods, but you don't understand it. The sagas. This is the time of the year the hunters are out. They ride in the sky, led by Odin. Our village rides in that hunt. I have lived for many years, and I have seen many lovers, comrades, and friends go to their grave. But I'm still here, breathing the ice of this land, said Bjorn mournfully, with glints of ice on his face. Come on, old man. Let's go inside near the fire to warm up and chase the ice away. They walked back to the longhouse. Bjorn, do you hear that? What, Gunnolf? I hear a dog barking in the distance. Bjorn looked at Gunnolf with worry. Let's go, Gunnolf, before the ice takes the both of us. They walked back into the longhouse, and the heat was stifling. It filled their lungs and made them choke, and their throats were dry. They filled their horns and sat around the fire. Bjorn told the tale of the wild hunt, but left out certain things so Gunnolf wouldn't get angry. As the night drew on, the longhouse slept, some next to each other, some with the animals, others alone and under heavy blankets. The fire that once was roaring turned to embers. Bjorn laid awake. He heard the baying of horses, the jingle of reins, the creaks of leather, and the heavy breath of rider and steed overhead. It grew so close. Gunnolf tossed and turned, covering his ears every now and again. He raised his hands to shoo away the air, and he whimpered like a child. And Astrid lay by the fire, sweating and shivering, her teeth a chatter. Gunnolf was the first to get up. He went to the pile of wood and grabbed some logs. He looked to the pile in wonderment and proclaimed, "How do we have so few wood? There was more than this before I drifted to sleep." "Are you sure about that, Gunnolf? It looks about the same to me." "Yes, Astrid. It was up to here." Gunnolf gestured with his hand about his waist high. I'm going to have to go earlier than I thought to go gather wood," Gunnolf grumbled. Gunnolf grabbed his axe and walked to the door before Bjorn belted out, "Be wary of the fairies, for they have already visited us tonight." Gunnolf turned away from Bjorn and waved his hand like he waved away words, and he wrapped his hands around the door and jerked open the wood and metal studded door to find the blank winter land covered in darkness and the sky dancing the winter's colors. "It must be morning. The fire was embered. I have no sleep in my eye, and it feels like morning, but it's dark, like when Bjorn went out," proclaimed Gunnolf as he stood in amazement. "Fairies, my dear boy." "Bugger the fairies." "Gunnolf, don't curse the fairies. They can do more than what they are doing." Gunnolf closed the door and walked back to the fire. "Let's eat. Maybe Suna will grace us soon." Astrid cooked the husky meal to the porridge, and they warmed up the last night's goat. As she cooked, she shivered and rubbed her arms with her hands. "Are you all right, Astrid?" "Yes, I'm all right, Gunnolf. The wind must have chilled me to the bone." As the steam came from the porridge and the grease of the goat popped and the smell of death seemed to hang in the air, everyone seemed somber and void of joy. On occasion, Astrid or Gunnolf would hear whimpering from the dark corners. The morning meal almost ready, Gunnolf got up with his axe in hand and yelled into the dark corners, "Stop your childish whimpering, and stop that dog barking, or I'll do it myself." Astrid looked at him in confusion. "What dog?" Gunnolf looked at Astrid with anger. "Don't call me a liar, and stop mocking me." He grabbed Astrid by the arm and swung her around and pushed her to the ground. "Get away from the food before you poison it with your fever." He raised the axe above his head, ready to strike her like a log of wood. Just then the doors flew open, making the flames dance and sputter. The snow and darkness seemed to enter also. There were no more dancing lights in the sky. As the snow whipped on the freezing winds, a dog rushed in, snow trailing behind him. The dog growling with frozen spittle, had launched at Gunnolf, and he struck the dog in midair with his axe, and he was shattered among the wooden floor. Gunnolf whipped around again to strike Astrid, still lying on the ground, shivering and fiercer than ever. "You have brought this on us, you harpy!" As the axe came down, an arrow struck Gunnolf in the chest. His rage ran out of him like the blood onto his tunic. He stumbled and fell, smashing his head on the stone pit, his blood mixing with the grease of the goat. The mighty Gunnolf, the champion of the now dead Earl, did not fight men gloriously in battle, but trying to kill the sick and weak. He will not joy noted in the halls of Valhalla. He will not be among the Inhajar. Instead, he will be forgotten. and cast into Niflheim, the land of eternal ice and darkness. As the fire died and Astrid laid there broken and shivering, the dark approaching closer to her, hands formed in the darkness and wrapped around her, she stopped shivering, and the fever was cast off. And she smiled at Bjorn as she was enveloped in the shroud of darkness. Poor sweet Astrid, mother of 7, all born strong and hardy, fast of mind and wit, all died when the winter came. First it was the babies, then the children who could walk and chatter, most of them girls, all beautiful, all with golden hair, which reminded me of Sif. Then the boys, turning to men, all found frozen, some with wounds from swords. Her husband died many years ago in battle with a rival village. She was strong, and cried only to herself when alone, and loved all that stayed in the longhouse like her family. I would imagine she would become a maiden for Frigga. I only hope so. Bjorn laughed like a madman, a smile as big as the old man's face. He seemed to get younger as the darkness came closer. A man came dressed in a hunter's frock, carrying a spear. The one-eyed man proclaimed in a loud voice, "Bjorn, Bjorn, son of Grim, join me in the hunt." As the darkness enveloped Bjorn, the sound of horses could be heard, and Bjorn's laughter of joy could be heard in the distance. What could be said of Bjorn, one of the elders of our village, easy to get along with, but a man to fear if crossed? He believed in justice and truth. He has fought many nameless battles, where it is said he whispered when others yelled, but he was a sight to behold with his large axe in hand. He laughed much and enjoyed good strong ales, and he loved only his woman. She died many years ago. Her heart just stopped. His child grew and married and had children of their own. Most died, some others not seen since the winter's start. He is the one songs were sung and tale told about. May he find peace with Tyr and Freyr, since he embodied them most, and shall he ride forever among our people and have a successful hunt. I guess that leaves me a learned man in the written language. I have not done much in my life. My name will be forgotten. Hopefully I could be a Alfar at least. I don't hear the crying. The animals are still. My fellow villagers are silent, and darkness lays all around me. I can see something in the darkness. It looks like it's laughing. I see more and more, and they look like they're coming closer. That ends our story for tonight. So be careful and be safe and enjoy your family, because you never know when it's going to be your end. Good night.